E here. Welcome back to another From the Desk Live. Today I am talking to John Lynch. We will be doing 5 template questions, and then I will be doing follow-ups if I have any follow-up questions for John. Once we are done with those 5 template questions, I will be answering chat. There's nobody in here right now. I might put a note down here. Let's see here. I'll be answering questions around 8:30 p.m. CST. There we go. All right. So, hey, John Bender's here.
Hey, how
I
you
told
doing?
you, just got through telling you not to look at chat, and I'm over here like, hey, chat. Anyways, but everybody, come on in. Everybody, get comfortable. We're gonna do like we did, not last week, but the week before that. I have had nothing but issues since Ida came, and Ida didn't even really hit us. Um, it started Sunday night with power outages, and then power outages and internet outages, because I have a hotspot that doesn't really, as long as it's charged, I could use it. But that was going out. Then Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday had all the same issues. But we're here and we are live, and we're going to jump right into the questions. So, question number 1, John, have you been published, or are you working to be published?
So I have been published before. I have two short stories published currently. Both of them are from Cemetery Gates Media. The first one was in their flash fiction anthology, Campfire Macabre, and the second one is in their quiet horror anthology. That one's called Paranormal Contact.
Cool.
The first one was published last year. I believe Paranormal Contact came out in January, around December or January. And then I do have actually another short story that is about to come out in the latest Silver Shamrock anthology, Midnight from Beyond the Stars.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I think that one comes out September 28th. It's around then. It's the very end of September.
Gotcha. Okay. What's your experience been like with Cemetery Gates Publishing so far?
It's been great. They've been really professional. I've talked with Joe Sullivan of Cemetery Gates, and it's been a great process. Nothing but professional. He's a really nice guy. That don't really have anything bad to speak. As
That's
far as as what you would look for as an author, he's really straightforward. Um, the anthologies, obviously they're paid anthologies, and the payment was on time. He's upfront about how long they're going to want rights to your story for, and when you're going to be able to use them again, and stuff like that. So the whole thing was really transparent, and it was easy to work with them.
Did you with the are you allowed to speak as far as the contract? How long do they hold first world rights?
Um, I think it was about a year. It was about a year. It
From the
wasn't.
date of, from the date of
Yeah,
publication? Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
All
It
right.
mentioned a specific date. Actually, I don't even think it was a year. I think it was just like it said don't use before, like, I want to say it was like October 31st of this year. So actually, both of the stories I'll have rights back to by the end of the year.
Wow, that's amazing. That's really good. I know some of well, of course, the bigger markets want it for a longer period of time, but I've heard some smaller presses taking quite an extensive amount of time, like 5 years on a short story, and that just doesn't make any sense to me, because that collection isn't going to be selling for the next 5 years. Was Silver Shamrock about the same?
I think it was a little bit long. It was less than 5 years, but I think it was longer than the Cemetery Gates. But I'm not off the top of my head. I'm not sure. I would have to double check. The only
Okay.
reason I remember the Cemetery Gates was because I was originally planning on putting out my own collection this year. So I was gonna probably wait until those two were ready so I could just throw them in as an added bonus in the collection. But I decided to hold off on that until I got a book out first.
Yeah.
So
How many? I don't know if we've talked about this, but just to reinforce, I always suggest that people publish a novel before they publish short stories. Short stories should sell the novel, because people buy short stories to test the waters. You know, they go in, they want to see what your style's like, that kind of thing. And if there's nothing else out there, you just gave them, you know, the preview with nothing else to buy.
Yeah.
I say the same thing when we're talking about sales. Like if you're going independent, if you're going to put a freebie sale, I don't recommend freebie sales, giveaways. Giveaways, yes, but freebies on Amazon, I don't suggest anybody do that. But if you have like a long running series and you're on, like, you know, book 3 and you want to put the first one up for free, that's smart. But just putting I'm speaking from experience here, just putting your first book up for free does absolutely nothing for you. It's just out there for the people who collect, you know, books on Kindle. And I'm one of those people. I'm not talking shit. I am one of those people because I have over 6,000 ebooks, and I don't even read ebooks. When I first got my Kindle, I just went out and got all the free stuff, and I haven't read a single one of them. The only thing I've used my Kindle for is to read like advanced review copies, and I don't even take those in electronic anymore. So let's move on to, you good to move on to the next question?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. All right. So what are you currently working on?
So right now, I just finished a short story that I submitted to another anthology, to Darklit Press. They're a new press. Andrew Fowler runs it. The Book Dad on social media.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
So
I know who he is.
So I wrote one for that. I just submitted that. I just started another one that I'm writing because I'm still working on writing short stories is the way that I procrastinate from writing the book that I'm writing. So whenever I should be writing that, I get like an idea for a short story. So I'm in between. I'm writing short stories right now, and I'm also a couple chapters into a longer book that I'm writing. It's probably novella length, I think. Maybe we'll see how it goes. I don't have a planned length for it, just as long as it needs to be.
And what are you planning on doing with the novella, or whatever it ends up being? What do you plan on doing with that one?
I'm gonna shop that around. After I revise it how it needs to be. I'm gonna shop it around and see if I can land it somewhere. And then, if not, then I'll probably go the self-publishing route.
I do have a question regarding Silver Shamrock. With them, do they give you an invite when they accept your stories? I know a lot of publishers who've done this. When they accept your story, do they send you an invite to publish something longer with them, or submit something longer to them?
I did not get that.
Okay.
I don't know if they do that, but I do know on just based off of from podcasts that I've heard, Ken on and his website, their submission for longer works is basically just always open. You can just always it's not closed and open. You can send it to them at any time.
I had no idea. That blows me away, because so many publishers, especially new publishers, close down so quickly after not close down, the not the publishing house, but they close down submissions very early, because it's like putting blood in the water, man.
Yeah.
Do they actually say anywhere, like on their website, that they're always open to submissions?
Yeah, the website just says that it's open. And then I remember a podcast. I can't remember what podcast it was on. I listened to it maybe like 7 months or 8 months ago, maybe like a year ago, and he had said that it's a lot of work reading all the stuff, but he really he's into finding all these new authors and getting guys out there. So he leaves it open, and it's a lot of work for him, but he's always reading something. But as far as I know, they haven't closed submissions yet, and I think they've been open for about 2 years now, close to that.
That absolutely blows my mind. I was an acquisitions editor for a publisher for 3 years, and they were relatively new. And I would say probably the first week that we were open, I got 800 submissions. And that is like, I can't do this. So I'm thinking Ken is probably of the school that if he doesn't get caught right away, like if the story doesn't grab him right away, I can only imagine, man, if it's up on his website and he lets people know that he's completely open, you're just going to get a slush pile like crazy. So he must only be reading like the first part of something to see. Oh, sorry, just got a notification on my phone. Let's see here. Okay. I'm just guessing that that's what he has to be doing. It's too many. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't get as much as I would assume. But Silver Shamrock has grown in popularity quite a bit, and it boggles my mind that he would do. Is he the only? Well, I know Ken McCain. Does he only? Do you have any idea? Does he only work on the short story collections, or does he work with bringing in new talent? Do you know any of this stuff? I know you only have a short story with him, but
yeah, I don't know how they handle reading through the manuscripts. I know just from talking to other authors and from seeing seeing the inside flaps of books that Kenneth Kane does the editing on the books.
right.
I believe he's edited all of them. I'm not 100% sure. I know he's edited all the anthologies. I'm pretty sure he's edited all the books as well. As far as reading the manuscripts, and deciding what they want to choose, I'm not sure. I think it might just be I think that might just be Ken McKinley, but I can't really speak to that because I'm not sure.
Right. I understand. It wasn't really a question for this discussion. You just got you really piqued my interest with that one, man, because I cannot imagine. I've been an editor of short story collections, and those are short stories, and you get 1,000 submissions. It's like, man, I don't know. And on top of that, you also get, the BS ones, like people trying to republish other, unpublished works or works that are still published. You get all that stuff too, that you have to weed through. I'm just amazed that it's one person doing this. If it actually is, I probably need to get him on the show, or someone who knows on the show, so I could talk to him, because that blows my mind.
Yeah, that's a lot of reading of a lot of books. Even if it's not hundreds, even if it's 20, and if you get like 20 in a month, that's it's going to take you a while to get through that, and then contact people, even if you're not even reading the whole thing, even if it, you read 50-60 pages and find out it's not for you. 50-60 pages takes time.
Yes. For me, that's almost 2 hours, man. I read
Yeah.
slow as hell. People are always asking me, how I read so fast. It's like, no, you don't understand. I read slow as hell. I'm one of those one word. I literally read it out loud in my head. You know what I mean? I don't just read the lines and know what the line says. I literally have to like audiobook myself. I do characters in my head, all that stuff. I'm slow. It's just I got a lot of free time. That's literally it. So either I'm writing, I'm editing, I'm reading, or I'm doing YouTube shenanigans. Is there anything else you would like to talk about as far as what you're currently working on? Do you want to go ahead and move on?
I haven't told it. I might have told people this. I might not have told it, but since we brought up the collection that I'm working on, I don't have a set date on it for it. Like I said, I do have a cover I haven't revealed yet. And I do have a name for it. It's called Woe to Those Who Dwell on Earth. I just don't know exactly when I'm going to be putting it out yet. I did want to put it out this year, but I'm going to hold off until I get something longer written. So that sometime next year.
Gotcha. Yeah. Even if you do start, in my experience, what works, if really the only way to get any notoriety publishing a short story collection first is if you're someone like Joe Hill. His first thing was 20th Century Ghosts, and he went with William Morrow with it, I believe. If not, his past couple books have been William Morrow, but I'm pretty sure William Morrow was was his first one. It might not have been.
No,
but,
you're right. It was.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then even Stephen King published 4 books before they allowed him to write a short story collection, or to publish a short story collection, Doubleday. And that's just because they don't sell all that well. And they are mostly used for selling the longer work. I know Joe hid his name, that he was King's son when he first started off. And people didn't even find out until his 3rd book, which was Horns. He had 20th Century Ghosts, Heart-Shaped Box, and then Horns. But what really catapulted him was not his dad. It was that short story collection, because he had submitted all over the place. So he had a name. People were looking for stuff from him before he ever published that short story collection. So it's a very, very rare thing.
Yeah.
So moving on, you want to go ahead and move on, or do you have
Yeah, we
anything
can
else you
move
want to
on.
say? Okay. All right. I just don't want to cut you off. I get to rambling also. Everybody in the chat knows this.
No, that's okay.
What is your process for starting a new piece? What draws you to start something? Or, do you have a process? Do you just open whatever? Just let me know what you do.
So it's been kind of different for each piece. Sometimes I'm sitting there just thinking, what do I want to do? Especially because I'm pretty new at writing. Not pretty. I'm very new at writing. I've tried to write stuff in the past before, like almost like 8-9 years ago, but it was just absolute crap, and I gave up. And then
We've all been there, man. We've all been there.
so since then, it's been kind of just I've been using when I first started picking it up again. I tried to write something for a Death's Head Press anthology that was going to come out. That never ended up coming out. That I think that one just got put off on the back burner. Then the splatter westerns started really hitting, and I think they kind of changed gears. But I don't really have insight to that either. I know that anthology never came out, and my story didn't get selected anyway. But since then, I've been using just a mixture of things that I wanted to write, and also like look at like open calls and just get jostle ideas that I've had in my head. And then sometimes I'll see like an open call, and this idea that I've had floating around my head, I had no idea what to do with it. And then all of a sudden it hits me, and I'm like, okay, I can use that. And then, so, and then as far as my book that I've been writing goes, I had an idea. I wanted to kind of do like a teen slasher, something like in the vein of Scream, I guess, something like that, but not Scream, I guess, but just so you know, kind of like what my idea is, like what I'm thinking towards. And that took a little while to figure out how I wanted to do it, because originally I was going to write a slasher, and I didn't know if that was going to be a supernatural slasher or if it was going to be kind of like a real slasher, you know what I mean? Like not a supernatural killer. And I wrote 60 pages of that book in maybe like a month and a half, and then I wasn't able to sit down and write because at the time that I started going through my separation and my divorce, and I was living with my dad and all that, so I didn't write anything. And I completely lost it. Like I have it, but I lost the story in my head. So I've been trying, and I was pantsing at the time. So now I've been trying to just really, I get an idea and I write down just a couple sentences about the idea, and then I try to hit the major plot points where I want to go, and then I've been trying to fill in from there.
Okay. Yeah, I'm a pantser too. The 2 times that I tried to plot in my entire 20 years in the business so far were both terrible, horrible failures. I got in, I tried to, build something. I don't know. My brain doesn't like writing if it already knows what's going to happen. I don't know what it is about me, but I lose all interest in something. That's also why I write so quickly. And so much, because if I don't get it out, damn it, it's like it's going to flutter away. If I put something down for, you say, 6 months, if I put something down for 6 days, man, it's gone. So I understand completely. The only way I found to combat that is to actually go back and rewrite the whole thing from the beginning. I know that's a lot of work, and especially someone who, like you, works full time. You don't have the time to be doing on that. You'd rather be working on other things. But let it sit around. You get some you get some success. It'll be there. The good ideas never go away. So and also you can cannibalize something that I do with either short stories, novellas, novels that don't work out. I finish everything I start, but not everything I finish gets published. So I will take something, like if I get stuck on something, I will cannibalize a scene from another book and bring that over and work it in somehow. And then that usually spurs me on to go and to finish it. I don't know if you don't want to talk about this, you don't have to, but your history as you're in the military, or you were in the military.
Yeah.
How does that affect your writing? Do you find yourself leaning more towards the military side of things? And if you'd like to elaborate on your own service, you can do that too.
So in a few of my short stories, yeah, I would say that I have been leaning towards that because it's kind of just like a write what you know. And and especially being so new, I know one of my, I have to find like what I'm strong at to try to write that. Otherwise, it's going to be and build off of that. And I know that I can write good, or I not okay. I feel like I can write good combat scenes. So I do try to take like take a military thing and then put like a horror twist on it in short stories. I do have a few. So that's another thing about my short. If you don't like military horror, you're probably not going to want my short story collection. Is not for you, because there are going to be some that have nothing to do with the military. But if you took 10 of them, 10 stories, probably 4 or 5 of them are going to be something to do with military horror. Now they're not all the same. They don't read the same. Like one's a creature feature. One might involve ghosts. Another one is like it's like marine horror. I would say I don't want to give it away too much because it's the one I just
Right.
submitted it, but it's ocean horror. So they're all a little bit different, and it's not always writing like combat action sequences or something like that. But a lot of the stories that I do write are involving members of the military, especially in
Gotcha.
my short stories. My book has nothing to do with the military. Although the first one that I was writing, that was actually was trying to. So part of the reason why I put it down and then couldn't pick it up for so long too, once I was trying to get it to write again, is because I wanted to just hit on a lot of. I wanted it to not just be like a mindless slasher. All of the characters had problems that they were dealing with in different ways, from PTSD from being in war, and I didn't want to mess that up. It was important to me to get it right, and I wasn't getting it right. Was another thing when I was reading it, so I started just kind of like, I'm not. At the time that I was writing it, I was like, I don't think that I'm good enough to do what I want to do with this yet. So I just kind of, once I lost it and then I was looking at it and I read it over trying to pick it back up, I was like, I'm not handling this the way that I want to handle it, and I don't want to put out something that's important to me like that, where it was just completely bungled it. So
Oh, I understand completely. That does make me want to read. I'll be completely honest with you, 100% candid. I don't care too much for military horror. I never have. I've tried a couple of them, like Hell Divers and some other stuff. I tried a Lee Murray, and nothing whatsoever against Lee Murray, but she writes some of that kind of stuff, and it's just not my thing. But what
yeah,
does interest me, what does is the idea of writing about PTSD and that stuff. That would pull me along much faster than it just being a military horror. And I peeked over here at chat. I do want to talk about this one. JB Taylor mentioned that combat scenes are a ton of fun to write. I wanted to sideline us here and talk about this because I absolutely hate writing these things. I hate anything with action. Everybody's rushing, dashing. I don't have. I guess I don't have the what is it? The lexicon. I don't have the verbiage in my Rolodex up here to get the right stuff. So I usually end up repeating myself, or I am so stark with it. So to the point of where it's like 1 or 2 lines of action before the fight is over. I cannot stand I cannot stand writing them, so I stay away. That's another reason why I kind of stay away from military horror. Is I'm not learning anything from it. For some odd reason, I can't absorb that. I've tried like what is The Bourne Conspiracy, several other
yeah.
types of things that weren't even horror, and it's strange. I don't know if it's some of my ADHD or what it is, but it's like the more action there is, the more bored I am. It feels like I know what's going to happen. Especially if it's like a lone hero on a trek. The lone hero isn't going to die. That kind of thing. Yeah, it's just funny. So what I want to ask is a follow up question to what JD asked. Combat scenes are a ton of fun to write. How do you go about combat scenes? How do you tackle it? Is it real world experience only? What is it that you bring that you try to bring to the table with your combat scenes? Since I'm someone who has absolutely no luck writing them.
So far, when I've been writing combat scenes, a lot of time I've tried to make it even when they're the characters in my story are up against something that's not natural. It's a creature, it's something. I try to make sure that for their action and what they can do, it's as true to life as possible. So a lot of times, my action sequences involve actual tactics that we were training to do in the Marine Corps, room clearing tactics, stuff like that. Um, different weapons tactics, patrolling tactics, things that we would actually be doing. And I tried, so if in a story, if my character quickly reloads his weapon and it's under a certain amount of time, it's because we were trained to do it in that amount, while in the middle of in the middle of a firefight, or something happens, you run out of ammo, or you drop to a knee and quickly reload while you're dropping the other magazine out. And I just try to make sure that the things in the scenes, because my characters are real people, that they're not doing anything that you wouldn't be able to do. It's not too absurd. Sometimes there's a little bit of, okay, but not. I try to make it as close as possible to something that somebody could do, so that way you won't just immediately read it and be like, "There's no way." Because
I'm not gonna lie. I've read some really good combat scenes that I've went to. I have a friend named Jeff Brackett. He wrote the Half Past Midnight series. Anyways, I guess it's. I'm not sure which one he likes. It's either Survivalist or Prepper. I'm not sure which one it is. He's offended by one of them, but he has a lot of that kind of knowledge. And I've asked him, multiple times. I've been like, dude, how do you make something like that interesting? And with the combat scenes, that's the kind of stuff that, oddly enough, that's the kind of stuff that I get hung up on. Is I'm like, I don't know if it's realistic. I don't know. And I'm always asking Jeff, it's like, can someone actually do this? So it's just funny to me, because even when it is realistic, I've been like, there's no way in hell.
Yeah.
It's that kind of thing. But that's subjective, to every reader, what someone is going to believe. I mean, there's people out there who firmly believe, like Dianetics is nonfiction, L. Ron Hubbard, that kind of thing. There's that kind of stuff. People read fiction and they believe what they want to believe. But another funny side note to that is it inevitably, it always happens when someone says in a review of any of my books that something is unbelievable. It's the thing that's based on a true story. Every single time, man. I don't know what it is, and I just kind of sit back and I chuckle. I was like, everybody has their own experience, and just move on. So, is there anything else you want to talk about with starting a new piece, or would you like to move on?
Yeah, I guess with the starting a new piece lately, it's been a little more. I'm still, for the most part, pantsing. I'm just writing the idea down and piecing it together, like I said, just in case so I don't lose it. And I've been trying to handwrite too. My book, I'm writing all by hand right now.
Cool.
With a fountain pen. So it took me 2 chapters to realize that was a horrific mistake, and I'm gonna regret that. But yeah, I'm going for it. So the first draft is going to be by hand.
Touch. Yeah, especially when those pages touch and they aren't dry. Yeah, I do mechanical pencils or number 2 pencils. I would say up until I met Darren Kapoff last year, and we started writing The Wicked. Well, even that one I wrote mostly freehand, and then I would type it up before I sent it to him. I would say I was going on 3-4 years of nothing but handwritten stuff. South of Here was handwritten. The Bedding of Boys, Everything is Horrible Now, No Home for Boys, all that stuff was written. The Sound of Broken Ribs, all that stuff was written longhand. And then, I'll go, and but it never fails. Every time that I write longhand, my brain still gets bored when I'm typing it up or I'm dictating. So I use because it feels like I plotted something and now I'm having to write it all over again. So I use a dictation service, not service, but I use Dragon software, dictation software, not service. But yeah, how do you feel about that? The need to go back and have to type it back up. Does it bother you at all? Do you get bored?
So the biggest thing is how that I'm bored. When I have to type it back up, my handwriting is absolutely atrocious. So now you throw a fountain pen into the mix where sometimes it's a little, and I'm looking at this page, I'm like, what the hell am I trying to write here? I can't read it. And sometimes I'm just looking at it. I'm like, what does that say? Because I'm writing it in cursive on top of that too. And it's been a long time since I've had to, I've been out of school for a long time now, so I haven't had to write cursive to begin with in a while. And you kind of, I guess it is one of those things you lose it after a while when you haven't really been using it. So some of the letters, they're just jumbling into each other. But it's fun though. I am dreading typing that whole thing up. But not as much as I'm dreading sometimes, writing it by hand, because my hand it starts cramping. I'm not used to it yet because I haven't done it. It's just, I decided I wanted to do it because I was reading a thing before that said your brain activates differently when you're writing by hand than when you're typing something up, which is why I wanted to give it a try. And because I was experiencing a bit of writer's block with one that I wanted to do, and lo and behold, as soon as I started writing it out, it was like my brain thought of what I wanted to write before I even got to that point on the paper yet. So it was just like, when I'm sitting at the computer typing, I'll be sitting there staring at the screen like, okay, what am I going to do next? But when I'm writing it by hand, it just, I don't have that pause. It just, because I've already thought what's going next before I put it down on the paper. So
Interestingly enough, the whole reason I started writing longhand was for word choice. I noticed that when I was typing, I was writing. I had the same crutch words I was using over and over and over again. And it's really, really easy to go back and just double click delete and then put another word in there. So I figured, okay, well, let me try and train myself to use better words or better descriptors, whatever. Better, it's just better, sentences altogether, better built sentences. And writing longhand, if you're anything like me, you don't like wasting paper. So I will get in there and I will make sure that, each and every, so it's a much slower process for me also, but I feel like something like South of Here, I think is so much better written than some of my other stuff, because I just, every single sentence I took 30 seconds to think about before I wrote it, because I only had one tablet. And that's part of the reason why the book is so short. I just wanted to, I wanted to write something that was contained to those 70 pages front and back. And oddly enough, when I typed it out, it came out to the exact same word count.
Oh, wow.
I don't know how. Yeah, I don't know how that happened. Because like you, I have horrible handwriting. I don't do cursive. I spent 5 years in the medical profession, medical field, whatever. And so I write in Dr. Chicken Scratch. And most of the time, I won't even finish a whole sentence. I'll just put little marks that I know. Like, I never write out "and." That is a complete waste of time. Literally, I'll do a line down and carry it over and then slash it across for plus, So there's so many things that you can do to cut out not the needless words, because they're of course needed, but the stuff that looking at it. And everybody has their own thing. So, but it's not exactly shorthand either, like a doctor's scratch. It's something only I know. So people have asked me, hey, do you want to include, like Thunderstorm books? We had this plan to include pieces of the actual, the actual manuscript that I had handwritten. And I was like, looking over this, dude, I probably shouldn't do that, because it's most of this is gibberish unless you in my own head. Which is something I did when I was younger too, because I don't know how many kids have done this, but I created my own language at one point in time. I had it all written out. It was just symbols, different check marks in different areas meant certain things. It was wacky shit, but that's the kind of kid I was. Okay, so anything else that you want to talk about as far as starting a new piece?
No, I think that about sums that one up.
Okay. All right. So next up is one that is near and dear to my heart. I put these template questions like this specifically because these are the things that I think are the most important. So we started number 5. Now we're at number 2. And this one is, what's your editing process?
Okay. So once I finish it, I do not edit it until I'm done. Because I just have a habit of, if I go back and fix things, I will continue to do that, and I will procrastinate finishing it. So a story that I could have had in a day or 2 days, depending on the idea, is going to take me a lot longer than that, because I'll go back and I'll be like, no, I want to change this. No, I want to change this. No, I want to change this. And I'll just never finish it. I'll find things to change. Once I've got it as good as I can personally get it, I do use Pro Writing Aid. I'll stick it through Pro Writing Aid and see if there's things that, grammatical things or something like that I've missed. Because I'm really new at writing. I didn't pay attention in school a lot, so I don't know. I have to read up more on certain things, so I can do it automatically without a software. I'm still learning all that again. So I use that to catch things. And then usually when I'm done, I'll see if anybody wants to give me a beta read or an eyes on. Sometimes I have my girlfriend look at the story and see if she can spot anything that I missed or things that don't make sense. Or continuity errors, you know what I mean? Like this person can't be here because they're supposed to be here, or this person just disappeared where you never mentioned them again, stuff like that.
All that's happened to me, brother.
Yeah.
All of it.
So it's really annoying. And then when somebody tells you, "Oh, where's this person?" You're like, I couldn't tell you. Not in the story anymore, and I don't know why.
Just stopped writing about them. It's like, where's Bill? Oh, yep. Bill who? Oh yeah, that dude that I introduced in chapter 3. It's now chapter 27, and we ain't seen Bill since chapter 3. Yes.
He went to go take a piss in the woods, and then he went to go take a piss in the woods, and then he was gone. So then I put his head was severed in the tent. Now
he died. You know what? I have a legitimate theory that's how some of these slasher films have been written. Like you end up, because people disappear in a slasher film, especially in like Friday the 13th, and you'll never see them again. And then the body will pop up, during the final girl's run, through the end. Yeah. And it's like, wait, we never saw them die. It's like, oh, they forgot about Tim. And Tim's been sitting in the closet with a hatchet in his face.
Yes, it's like Shelley from Friday the 13th Part 3. He's gone and then he reappears and his throat is slit, but his throat's been slit for like 20-30 minutes and he's somehow still alive, like stumbling in the end.
Oh, you gotta love it, man. You gotta love it. The things we do as writers to try and piece things together. I had one, I wrote a character and then cut the character, and there were 2 lines of dialogue from that character I forgot that made absolutely no sense whatsoever. And my editor at the time sent it back to me and said, "Who's talking? What is this person even talking about?" I'm like, I have no idea. I read that thing. I read that whole chapter over and over and over again, John. And it must have been a dozen times before I realized, oh, that's the son of a bitch I cut early in the book. He was still talking. His ghost was haunting the rest of the piece. I do want to talk about Pro Writing Aid. It is, as I feel, it's the best one in the business. Of course, there's nothing better than a pair of human eyes. It's not going to catch everything, but it is so much better than Grammarly. Pro Writing Aid is the only service that I have subscribed to. And again, it's not going to catch everything. And I suggest everybody gets an editor. In fact, nowadays I'm starting to tell people, you know what, you need to find a publisher and read their stuff. And if it's clean and up to your standards, then you need to go with them. I'm getting away from the freelance stuff myself. Oh, there goes my alarm again. Not alarm, but my notifications vibrating. But anyways, I've been telling people, and I'm not trying to put people off of indie publishing. It's more along the lines of, it's just so fucking expensive nowadays. Yeah. When I first joined this whole indie movement, whatever it was back in, I think 2014, it was 2011. I don't know why I said 2014. Anyways, but 2011 is when Bay's End came out, and I think I paid $350, $400 to get that book edited. I did some corrections to it in 2018, and I wanted to, expand it into my All Things Lead to the End series. And I sent it off for an editor to give me a, an estimate. And they came back with $2,500 just for the line edit. Dude, I didn't pay more than $400 in 2011. And then I started looking around. I'm like, everybody's charging this. Yeah. And so unless you got, money bags, and you just don't have anything else to do with your money, of course it's an investment. Let me not say it like that. But the indie publishing is a crapshoot. And you damn near, most people roll 7s. And that's a problem. So especially nowadays when everybody and their mama has a book, anybody can go onto Amazon, slap up a generic cover. You don't even have to have a cover. They provide covers for some of the stuff.
I didn't know that.
Well, Yeah, you can go on there and have you can go to their cover creator, and it's usually just a stock photo image that they have bought that they are letting you use royalty free. And it'll have like a bar for your title and then another bar for the body. It is the most basic, ugly ass shit you will ever see in your life. But you can do it. And of course, people do it. People throw things up all the time, and now you're not really battling. This isn't really a competition, but you are a tiny molecule in the vast sea of the universe now, as far as like Amazon and things like that. So I've even started telling people, don't even bother. Just try to find someone like Silver Shamrock or someone who comes out with clean copy. Is I've heard nothing but good things about Silver Shamrock. Sinister Grin Press was probably the worst in the business. I don't even think they're around anymore, but I don't think they use an editor at all. But what I'm getting at is, even if you're looking, and that's why I bring up these two polar opposites. You have Sinister Grin, beautiful covers, garbage editing. Silver Shamrock, pretty much doing everything right now. As far as the covers, the editing, and all that stuff. So I've heard. You really want to pick up one of their books if you're going to go, with a publishing house, and you want to look and see if you find a bunch of errors. Even if you're starting out and you're finding a bunch of errors, and you're not a grammar Nazi or someone who's been to school for this kind of thing, and you're catching errors. If you're self-trained, someone like me, and you're catching errors, that's a problem, because I'm not going to catch. If I'm already catching stuff, there's a lot more wrong with this. So, but yeah, I've been telling. It's just so damn expensive. And then of course with this, you're also getting what you paid for. So if the price is too good to be true,
Probably is. Yeah.
it probably is. There are some times that you will bump into someone who's just starting out, someone who is, someone who is trained, has gone to school for this kind of stuff. You might find cheap there, but most of the time, man, you're definitely going to get what you pay for. Is there anything else you want to talk about for your editing process?
So yeah, when you were talking about the freelance editing, I had used a little bit of freelance editing for some of the first few stories I bought, and then I haven't, the rest of them I haven't edited yet. I'm gonna get them edited, because I don't want to put out something that's not edited. Like you were saying, it's gonna cost me money, but I want to invest in myself, and I'm gonna, if I can't sell the stories, if I can't sell the collection somewhere, I'm gonna put it out myself, and I just figure, it's if I'm not gonna bet on myself, then why would somebody else? So.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do that, and then just to add on to what you were saying about the editing in Silver Shamrock, another one off the top of my head, Off Limits Press, also I have noticed has been very good.
Yeah.
I don't know who edits their stuff. I don't know if they use the same one. I'm trying to think. I don't know if it was Carmen Wells, maybe.
Yeah,
I'm
Carmen
not sure.
Wells. That's
okay.
it. Thank you, because I'm sitting over here. I'm like, it starts with a K. It starts with a K. Yeah, it's Carmen Wells. Yeah.
Because I read the first two books. I read Haley Piper's book. The Worm and His Kings, was that what that one was called?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then I read Crossroads. I read both of those, and the first thing that came to mind was this is much better edited than 90% of the small press horror books that I read. And the same thing, like you said, Silver Shamrock. Those are the two I would say for me personally. Those two I've always noticed, and whenever I pick up one of their books, they're very well edited.
Yeah.
So
With Off Limits Press, I've read Tim McGregor's Heart Strange, and oh man. Anyways, Tim McGregor's, and then Greg Sisko's In Nightmares We're Alone. I think those are both from Off Limits, and both of those were impeccably edited. I didn't have any issues whatsoever with them. Yeah. I would agree with that 100%. I'm not familiar with some of the publishers that I've seen around, like Crystal Lake. I'm not too familiar with them. I tend to stay away from, unless they send me ARCs. I tend to stay away from new publishing houses, because the last thing I want to do, man, is go and rip apart someone's new business. And if they're not, and if the book's terrible, if it's not edited, or whatever it might be, I can only ever be honest.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing. And in my mind, I'm not here to make, friends, and it doesn't matter if they send me books or not. I'll end up buying it. So I don't have fealty toward any publisher. That's for sure. But and in fact, the last one really hurt, man. I reviewed Immortelle by Catherine McCarthy.
Yeah.
Is it McCarthy? I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. I just watched that
And
review the other day.
man, I don't know if you could tell in that video, man, but I felt fucking terrible.
Yeah.
I didn't like doing it. But and I even messaged Samantha Kolsnick beforehand. And I was like, you might want to tell Catherine to stay away from this one. I did, but that's just, not everything is going to work. No matter
Yeah.
how well written, no matter how well edited, no matter how pretty the cover is, nothing is going to work for everybody.
Yeah.
So you just got to do the best that you can do. Put out the cleanest product you possibly can.
Yeah.
And go from there, and hopefully you see some success. But yes, I'm 100%. Silver Shamrock and Off Limit Press are two presses right now doing everything on the technical side 100% right. That I've had no problems with any of the things that they published, and I am insanely impressed with Off Limits, because I'm pretty sure Samantha's doing most of that stuff by herself.
I think she is. Yeah. As far as I know.
Except for editing, which would be Carmen. But I mean, that's just that. Yeah. And Silver Shamrock, if it's only Ken and Ken, if it's only those two, man, that's just some impressive stuff.
Yeah.
Because I know there's whole teams working on with certain publishers, and they're not doing half as well.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you would care to elaborate on, or anything else as far as your editing process?
No, I think that pretty much covers my editing process.
Yeah.
I'm still learning on that too. Because like I said, it's only been the last 2 years that I've been really trying to sit down and get this done. So I'm learning the editing process too. So
it's all practice. It's all practice until you publish. That's the thing I tell everybody, is make sure it's where you want it before you go out that door. All right, so we're going to move on to the last one. We're running a bit over. We're 46 minutes into this. Last time with Lane, I think we were right at 30 minutes when we opened up chat. But got everybody in chat, if you hang around, and I'll open it up for questions if you have any. Right after this question, which is, what are some of your inspirations? Who are some of your inspirations, John?
So we'll get the obvious out of the way. Stephen King. Just because it's. I started reading horror in the late 90s, I would say. I was born in 87, so I started reading probably mid to late 90s. I picked up books I shouldn't have been picking up at an early age because my brother gave them to me. And just
me too.
when you go into the bookstore, that's all there was Dean Koontz, Stephen King, and Bentley Little. That's all there was in Barnes & Noble and Borders. And those are the only two bookstores in Rhode Island. And I never saw an independent bookstore in my life until recently. All we had was Borders and Barnes & Noble, and that's all that they had. So Stephen King is one of them. As anybody who's seen me on social media knows, Bentley Little, if only for the fact that just how long he's been doing it, with zero online presence, basically. And I like the way that he takes such a little mundane thing, and I know he's very formulaic, but I like how he takes something and he turns it into an entire horror novel. And and I know a lot of people probably don't like it because it's formulaic or something like that, but it's we each have the things that we like, and it's that's like comfort food horror for me. So and his longevity, I think, is
what little does he does well. He is kind of like the Dean Koontz of horror. He does have his niche, but I think Richard Lehman was the same way. And he sold better after he passed, but Bentley Little obviously is still selling, so he's doing something right.
Yeah.
And there's a lot to be said about books that are as easy to read as Bentley Little's. You can get into. I've enjoyed the Quantum Leap novelizations. I mean, it's the bare minimum writing, but it gets me where I want to go because I'm a fan of that kind of thing. And if you're a fan of Little's almost bizarro style, because he's out there, man.
Yeah.
He's you know, you've read him, but
Yeah.
he's way out there. I think the most normal thing I've ever read from him was Death Instinct, the one that he published as Phil Edmonds, and that didn't have anything really supernatural in it at all. That was one of the ones that, you know, I think that one was still about that one was, I don't want to spoil anybody, but that one was wild as hell, even though it didn't have any supernatural stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, what he does well, and I'll let you continue now. I just wanted to talk about that. No shame whatsoever. I'm not a huge Bentley Little fan anymore. I've moved on to a different type of writing that I like. But man, he was not my childhood, but he was definitely my teenage years. Him, Richard Lehman, Graham Masterton. I think I got that right. I know there's an extra T there at the end, so Graham Masterton. Anyways, all those guys, Edward Lee, all those are the guys I grew up reading. And not really grew up. It was later teenage years, but still, you know, those were the guys that I read. Anyways, continue on with what you were saying.
Those are some of the ones, you know, the older ones. As far as newer ones, because like I said, you know, I guess Joe Hill's an obvious one, but he's not really. I would say he's probably more of a dark fantasy, if anything, if that's even the genre for it. It doesn't seem really horror anymore. But
I think they call him general fiction now. Because they've even started calling King general fiction.
So. I really like what Laurel Hightower's doing. She's writing great stuff. I wish I could write the way that she writes. We mentioned
one day.
We mentioned Samantha Kolesnik earlier. I really enjoyed her debut novel, novella, and she's doing good work with the press. So that, you know, that's an influence to, you know, have somebody come out with a great first book, and then they go in and make a great press, and they're doing great things in the horror world. So, you know, that's something that I look up to. I like guys like Tim Meyer and Tim Wagner, who just seem like they can write anything. You know, like you can, I don't think you could just pick a random top two things out of a hat, put them together, and somehow those two guys are able to make it into a book, and it's crazy.
Yeah, they're professional authors.
Yeah.
You know, anybody who writes as a writer, anybody who writes as an author, but those guys are professionals.
Yeah.
They know what they want to do very, very early on, especially Tim Wagner. I remember one of the weirdest books I have ever read. I can't even remember the name of it, but it was a novella that Dark Fuse published, and it had a dude fused with a motorcycle, like he was part human, but almost like a centaur, but he is a motorcycle and a human, and maybe it was a Shrill Keening is Ronald Malfi. I can't remember what it was called, but it was nuts. But yeah, Wagner, excuse me, Wagner. I have not picked up, what is it, Writing in the Dark yet. He has a whole book on writing.
Yeah.
And he landed the Alien contract, didn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Alien Prototype. He wrote that one. I like that one. I actually read it. I liked it. And he's writing the novelization for Halloween Kills. Well, he wrote it already. Yeah. So I will be buying that day one.
Yeah, if I can find it around here, man. The Amazon sold out of I think the novelization for the first reboot. Not the first reboot, that was Rob Zombie, but the most recent one with
the 2018.
Yeah, exactly. I still haven't been able to find it. They don't have it at Barnes and Noble. They don't have it anywhere. I have to check Amazon again. I haven't checked in a while. Now that you remind me, hopefully I'll remember to do that when I get off here.
Yeah, I can send it to you if you want. I have it. If you want, I can send it to you. Yeah.
I'd like to own it, but I'd also like to read it. So maybe I'll talk to you afterwards. I'll shoot you a DM on Twitter.
Okay.
Is there anybody else you want to mention as far as your inspirations before I open up chat to questions?
Jonathan Jans is another one. He's he writes a lot of stuff. He's just a really good dude. Just quickly, Duncan Ralston, I think, is a good example of self-publishing your own stuff. He puts out a lot of stuff. I think he puts good covers out. You can tell he puts a lot of work into putting his books out. I like what you're doing. I know you're writing good books and you're putting them out there, but you're doing it in a way that doesn't make me feel like you're forcing your book down my throat. Like I feel like you're my friend. You're friends with a lot of people rather than just trying to be like friends online to sell a book. You know what I mean? So I like that.
Thank you.
You're doing a lot of stuff. I keep seeing all the stuff that you and Darren. And now you mentioned you're writing with TC Parker as well, and I'm just like, when are all these books coming out? Because I need to buy these books. So there's a lot of people. I could sit here all day and keep naming people, but there's a lot of people that I look up to.
Thank you. First, thank you for the kind words. The book with TC Parker is done. She has to go through it for one last pass, but that's done. Me and Darren have finished Wicked Rex of the West. That's coming out from Bloodshot Books sometime next year, not sure. And then we've also finished We Are Legend. So yeah, things are moving, but things are moving much slower now for me because of the collaborations. I can't just blow through a novel in a week anymore. I have to take my time. Of course, I'm writing my stuff while I'm waiting on them. I'm writing my solo stuff. But I like I said, I appreciate you will be in the queue for first to read these as soon as we get them to a place where, a place where we're 100% happy with them. I just feel like I got lucky very early on. Bay's End was very popular. It's still my number one. It's not my number one seller. Some odd reason The Betting of Boys is. But Bay's End is still, it still has the most reviews. I got really, really lucky early on. And ever since then, man, I haven't really, and this might sound like bragging. Maybe it's humble bragging. I don't know. But I just haven't had to do a whole lot of promotion, things, especially since I started the channel. I don't promote my own work on the channel whatsoever. Sometimes the video editor will throw in, like, I was like, we'll be right back after this commercial break, and he'll throw up, like, my most recent release. But I feel like the less I talk about my stuff, the more it sells. Yeah. And that makes no sense to me whatsoever. But I think I want to believe that it has something to do with the fact that, I'm not looking for a following. I'm on Twitter. I goof off. I mess around. I make stupid, bad jokes. I do stupid political hot takes. I do all that garbage. And people tend to, and I get it all the time. I didn't know you were an author. It's like, well, yeah, but now you do. If you want to read my stuff, go ahead. And then, when they ask me, hey, what do you think I should read? I usually say, hey, ask someone else. Because I don't know, maybe ask someone with your same tastes, what they. Sorry, I'm laughing because JB, every time I mention Bay's End, he's like, it's such a good story. But thank you, JB, I appreciate it. But yeah, man, I don't. Marketing sucks. I don't know how else to put it. I can't put it eloquently. It sucks ass. I know when I go onto Twitter or when I watch booktubers, the last thing I want to see is them promoting their own work. I don't know why that is. That's probably a shitty thing to say, but I don't care. Well, it's not that I don't care. It's just I'd rather get to know you.
Yeah.
I guess that's it. And that's just something that's missing, like, completely from every community on the internet. It's just people getting to know each other. Instead of just knee-jerk reactions all the time. But so is there anybody else, before I open this up, that you want to talk about as far as inspirations or anything like that? I know you could go on and on and on about everybody that that you've either learned something from, but is there anybody else that you want to point out?
I think that's it for now, because like you said, there's so many people that I'm gonna forget people, and I could just and the people that I do remember, I could keep talking on and on about, because there's been a lot of people who helped me and a lot of people that I look up to. It's just there's a lot.
Yeah, and
we'll be here all night.
Yeah, and also you don't want to miss anyone. If you start going too in depth, it's like, well, he didn't mention me.
Yeah.
But okay, guys, so chat is now open. Let me scroll through here and see if there are any questions pertinent to the chat that we will be going through. Sean just said hi. John Bender said hi. Sean, John, and John. I got John Bender, Sean Ford, and John Lynch. JB Taylor. Let's see here. I'm just going through this here. Yeah, the BookTube Goddess said they're fun to read too, talking about military horror. Paul Sheldon could have told you that. Which part, Christian? Are you even around anymore? My trouble is I can't read my own handwriting. Yeah, we covered that part.
Yeah.
Getting in there. I never had the issue that John's has. Like, what the hell did I just write? But I do show it to other people and like this makes no sense whatsoever. Is Twilight Eyes a good book? Yes, it is. That's really on topic. But I just bought Queen of Teeth. Loved, The Worm and His Kings was just a fantastic novel. Crossroads is great. Yep. Off Limits Press is they're killing it. Let's see here. Anything else? All right. Well, we'll give you guys a couple minutes. We're already at an hour, and I like to keep these to an hour. Well, Brad Perkins wants to know what's your top 5 Stephen King books, John.
So, Salem's Lot. I read that book every year. Even if it's it might not be his best one, it's my favorite one. I read it every year. I really like Duma Key, Pet Cemetery. I liked more recently. I've liked Revival. I would say Revival is the last Stephen King book that I really loved. I haven't read the collection. If it please, I haven't read that yet. I haven't read Billy Summers. From what I've heard of Billy Summers, it's not going to be my thing. Trying to think. Did I mention? Oh, you know what? That's a good.
Hard,
I'm trying to
man.
think. I'm trying to use that so many on this.
He's published over 70 books, man. That's one of the hardest questions I've ever gotten. Is the top 5 of Stephen King.
I like The Wizard in the Glass. If I'm just going to pick like a random Dark Tower one, I like The Wizard in the Glass. I like The Wind Through the Keyhole. I kind of like those ones that are like offshoots from the main course when you get into the Dark Tower. I love the Dark Tower series, but just something about the offshoots I really enjoyed.
Cool. That's one of the worst Stephen King books I've ever read, but I respect your opinion.
Which one?
The Wizard and Glass. In fact, I agree with you about Wind Through the Keyhole, though. And I think, oh gosh, here's Blue Gillian said, yes, Wizard and Glass. And he threatens me all the time to send me more copies of Wizard and Glass. But before we go on to the next question, I don't know, man. It's something. I guess it's because Wizard and Glass is stuck right there in the middle, and I know I have it coming, and I hate that extended thing. And even though Went Through the Keyhole is book 4.5, I still it came afterward. I didn't have to wait for the series to be done, And I think that's what upset me the most about it, is that I waited so long for Wizard and Glass, and it was just utterly terrible to me.
I'm so glad that I didn't start reading that until it was finished, because I can't even imagine the weight that somebody who read when they first pick up the first one and they're like, "Am I gonna die before this book comes out?"
Oh, do you?
You can't imagine George R. R. Martin, so so I can't imagine what that's like.
King wrote, I think that's when they read that in The Accident, I think is why King pushed so hard to get the Dark Tower done. He's like, am I going to be around? Because he talks about the old lady who told him, I have cancer. And she wrote him a letter, said, I have cancer. And she's like, I just need to know how it ends before I die. And he's like, I don't know what to tell you because I don't know how it ends either. I was like, oh, that's some horrible shit. Anyways. So JB Taylor asks, do you find that you have to go through combat scenes to layer them, fill them out, or do they just come out pretty smooth?
That's probably the smoothest thing to come out for me. So when I'm about to write a combat scene, the hardest part of it usually for me is how I'm going to start it off. And then once it kicks off, then I'm usually able to write through it pretty fluidly, where I'm not really thinking about much. It just goes from one to the next until it's done. The rest of my writing is not like that at all. But the combat scenes, it's once I figure out how I'm going to start it, then it just kind of goes from there, and there's not much thought to it. There's thought, but it's not like I'm not figuring out like, oh, what am I going to do next? What am I going to do next? What am I going to do next? It just kind of comes to me.
And that's where I would only assume that's where your training comes in, because you
Yeah.
know what you want the bad guys to do, and you know how you'd respond yourself or how your team would respond. So I'm not saying it's easier. I'm just saying you have that knowledge, that skill set. Blue Gillian wants to know favorite books to read during the fall Halloween season.
So, like I mentioned, I read Salem's Lot every year. I read it every October. I read Salem's Lot. That's one of them. I don't know. I couldn't. It's hard for me to decide really. My favorite one to read during the Halloween season or fall season, just because I've been mostly just reading horror year round now. I'll take an occasional aside, to read stuff like Blacktop Wasteland. It's a crime book. That's an excellent book, but that's one of the few non-horror books. I've probably read 3 or 4 books that weren't horror in the last like 2 years. So yeah, I don't really have a good answer for that one, just because besides Stephen King is the only one that is a go-to for me every Halloween.
If I have time, I'm not going to have time this year, but if I have time, I usually read Pet Sematary around this time, because it has that, even though I'm not even sure what season, I think it after, goes across multiple seasons, but it feels like an autumnal book. It feels like, it takes place during that time and only that time, probably because it happens in Maine, and Maine only has 2 weeks of summer, some autumn, then you have not mud season, you have a blizzard season, and then clean up after blizzard season, pretty much. I've lived there for 2 years, man, and I caught 2 blizzards in the same year. Let's see here. So BookTube Goddess says, I've watched some of the podcasts of 6-figure authors, indie authors, and they usually end up talking a lot about marketing strategy. You're talking about like Hugh Howey and J.A. Conrath and Amanda Hawking and all those folks. How much time do you guys how much time do you guys actually spend on marketing? I'm gonna go ahead and get my answer out of the way, because I don't do anything as far as marketing. I have the YouTube channel. I'll put up on my community page, hey, yo, this is out. I'll put it up on Twitter. I do advanced stuff. I'll be like, hey, this book is coming in so many months, so on and so forth. But other than that, I don't pay for marketing. I don't do blog tours. I don't do any of that stuff. And I do pretty all right. I'm not a 6-figure indie, but I'm comfortable. So, yeah. John, have you done any kind of marketing whatsoever?
The closest thing to marketing I've done is when I've got stories that are about to come out, I'll retweet them or put them in my stories on Instagram, and a newsletter. I put out maybe one newsletter for my website when I have something coming up, just because I don't like to spam people. So I don't really, but I also don't have much. I have 2 published pieces and one that's about to be published, so I don't really have anything to market other than retweeting the release date of a book that I'm in. So that's something to look into when I do start putting stuff something out. But I don't really have much of an answer for that at the moment.
It's marketing is probably the hardest part of being an indie. The sweet spot between talking about your own work and being a human being that people can relate to, or that people want to go out and read or support or whatever, is a very thin line. You just catch somebody on the wrong day, and why is my feed have your book in it? It could be the only time you ever tweet that. So I use kid gloves a lot when I'm talking about my own stuff. I much rather prefer other people talk about me than me talk about myself. So I'm absolute worst person to ask about marketing, because I just don't do it. Other than putting things up, I might, and even when I do have a limited edition that I unbox of my own work or something like that on the channel, it's usually already sold out before I do it. So that's not even marketing. That's just, me saying, hey, look, I got something cool,
Yeah.
Let's see here. This one's an interesting question. Christian Anderson says, any advice for storytellers who can't write and need to find writers that actually do finish the process? You can hire a ghostwriter. You just got to have the money. I mean, it's really is as simple as that. Several authors do it. James Patterson doesn't write any of his books anymore. He just sends a detailed outline out to his stable of authors, and they write the book for him. So I mean, it's possible. You just have to be fucking rich. That's pretty much it. So would you want to write Christian's book for him, John?
Or I'm having a hard enough.
I just assume gender. Their book. I'm not sure if Christian is male, female, or otherwise. But anyways, so go ahead.
I'm having a difficult time writing my own book right now, so I've got to get that out of the way first before I can take on any ghostwriting projects. Because if I could probably write it for you. But because that would be a way to procrastinate my own book that I've been just taking forever on. So
we're not gonna let you hire John, because we want him to finish that novella.
I would have your book done before mine.
Yeah, exactly. Because he doesn't want to go back to it, so let him finish. I'm going to take one last question from the Rev Nation down here, and that's just, John, if you want to plug your own stuff again, the Rev Nation wants to know, I'm not familiar with Mr. Lynch. Which one of your books should I check out first? So if you want to plug your anthologies one more time as kind of an outro, and where people can find you, if you want to throw that. Thank you, Connor. Thank you. I appreciate it. We got a $5 chat from Connor. We'll answer that one also before we leave. But yeah, so go ahead and plug your stuff again, and then I will answer Connor's question.
Okay, so if you're looking for something short, really short and quick, my short story Collateral Damage is in the flash fiction anthology Campfire Macabre from Cemetery Gates Media. That one's a quick one if you're just looking for something quick, but it's a 500-word story, so you're not really seeing what I'm working with. It's just, it's a quick hit.
Thank you, Derek. I just got $20 from Derek. Sorry to cut you off. I
just okay.
I just want to let him know I appreciate it. Derek, thank you. Thank you again. Derek's also a member of the channel. So I thank you, Derek. That's above and beyond. Thank you so much.
So then I would say you also can get Paranormal Contact from Cemetery Gates Media as well. That's a longer piece. That's more of a quiet horror thing. It's both of those two stories are actually based on a semi-true story of paranormal experiences that I have had, unfortunately. Cool. So they're based in truth. And then also my latest short story, if you want to start off with the newest one, that one is going to be coming out September 28th. It's in Midnight from Beyond the Stars. It's called Stasis.
Very cool. Very good. Thank you for that. We're going to do Connor's question. Either of you have any experience where you started writing something and maybe realized you weren't mature? Oh, yes. John actually spoke on this earlier. Enough of a writer yet and picked it up later. I'll let John tell his story one more time, but I want to throw in on this also, because I've had a novel in me that I have not even started. I have over... across all my names, I have over 30 books and hundreds of short stories, but I still don't feel like I'm good enough to write this book. I'm not telling anybody what it's about, but there's a novel in me, and I write every single day. I usually have no fear when I write. I write no matter, I don't care what the content is, I will write it. But there's one thing out there that I haven't been able to muster the courage to even start. I mean, not even the first sentence. So okay, we're going to go. Let's see here. We're going to go to John. Let him talk about the thing that project he spoke about earlier. Just another recap for Connor.
Okay, so what I was mentioning earlier, Connor, was the first. So after I wrote a couple short stories, I started to move on to a book. I didn't have a name for it at the time. I wanted to make a supernatural slasher, but for me, the twist on it was going to be, actually, I did have a name for it. The tentative name was called The Warriors Retreat. It was going to be a bunch of Marines. They're out of the Marine Corps now. They meet up. They want to go on a kind of a retreat to help them all how they were dealing with PTSD. Because some of them weren't dealing with it. Some of them took to alcohol abuse. Some of them took to drug abuse. And what I found when I was writing it, after I lost the story, and then when I tried to go back to it, I was reading it, it wasn't very good. And one of the things that I realized when I was writing it that wasn't very good is that my depictions of how they were dealing with PTSD were not up to snuff. I don't feel like I don't feel like I did it the service that needed to be done. In order for me to want to put that out, especially being a veteran myself and knowing people, I do know people who have dealt with PTSD to the point where they have taken their lives, and it wasn't something that I wanted to put out and have it just come across as half-assed, as just like this guy, it's a crazy veteran. I didn't want them to be caricatures. So
I respect that. One of my favorite vet stories is Gone South by Robert McCammon. Absolutely fantastic book, and has probably the best opening line I've ever read. All right, so we're gonna jump to Derek. I have a lot of audiobook recommendations, but I'm gonna let John answer first. John, do you listen to audiobooks at all?
I've tried. Um, I haven't, to be honest with you, I've never finished one. I can't, because I can't retain the information mentally. The only time that I have to listen to them is on the drive to work. I don't have a very long drive to work. It's like 10 minutes from my house. And by the time that I get in the car, drive to work, and leave, I've already forgotten what I just listened to. Like, because I'm too focused. I'm focused on the road. I don't know
Right.
what I just listened to.
I understand completely. It took me years to train myself to to be able to listen and to picture the things. I was having issues with listening, and either it putting me to sleep, or and the way I fixed the putting me to sleep is I bumped it up to times 2, and now I sometimes even listen to times 3 speed. So and it's funny because the faster someone talks, the more I'm able to pay attention. Because if someone is a very slow talker, I'm finishing their sentences in my head, and that just distracts me. So the faster something goes, my brain is able to. It's like completely backwards from what it should be. But that's part of ADHD. You find the ways that you can listen and learn, or the ways that you learn. But as far as audiobook recommendations, and this is I'm kind of cheating here, but literally anything by Stephen King. I've never heard a bad Stephen King audiobook. Never heard a bad Joe Hill audiobook. All of Lisa Jewell's stuff, if you like thrillers. Let's see here. Whatever you do, stay. And this is no shame on Adam Neville, but The Reddening is one of the worst audiobooks I've ever. Just check out my review on the channel for it. Mispronounced all different kinds of stuff. They picked a British author. Not. They picked an American narrator for a British book. So sometimes there's. But anyways, you're not talking about bad books. But just that one, I always tell people to stay away. This is a weird one, but it is so good. Deliverance by is it James Dickey? I believe I might have gotten that wrong, but what's his name? Will Patton narrates that. He also narrates the Mercedes trilogy, numerous things. So there's also David Ledoux. He narrated 20th Century Ghosts, which is a fantastic audiobook. It's one of the few big name short story collections that has only one narrator for every single story. And I absolutely loved his narration of that. That's pretty much all I got. But if you like audiobooks, definitely sign up for Scribed. I'm not going to plug my link. I don't even have it ready, but I'm not an affiliate. I just get a free month if you put in my stuff. But Scribed is terrific. If it's basically Netflix for audiobooks. So I would just go on there and try that out for a while. You get the first 30 days free, whether or not you use my link or not. They give you a free 30-day trial. And you can listen to unlimited for the most part. Sometimes if a book is really popular, they won't have it up right away. Or if they do, it only some certain people can listen to it. Like if you have more than one publisher, they'll only allow you one of their books at a time. But there's so much content on there. They also do ebooks. So you get unlimited ebooks, unlimited audiobooks, unlimited documents. There's cookbooks, all different kinds of stuff. But I definitely suggest that you at least try Scribed, because for $5 more, Audible only sends you one book a month, and Scribe charges $9.99 a month for unlimited audiobooks, whereas Audible charges you $14.99 for one Audible credit a month, I think it is. Yeah, Marcy says, I agree. The reddening audio sucks. I don't know what happened. I have no idea. 13,000 to oh, okay. There you go. So BookTube Goddess actually looked up a new. Okay, Michelle. Let me go back. Michelle Schusterman is. Thanks again, Derek, for the contribution. I appreciate you. Thanks again to Connor for your questions and your donations. I appreciate it. But BookTube Goddess says, FYI, Michelle Schusterman is a trad pub author who also ghostwrites and has a series on her ghostwriting and reveals what she charges. Yeah, a lot. They all do. I've done some ghostwriting and it's damn good money. You're welcome, Connor. Let's see. I'm trying to go through here. Oh, just looked it up. She charges $13,000 for 50,000 words. Wow, that's good. That's good money. That's real good money. Let's see here. If you like military fantasy, the Powder Mage audiobooks are awesome. Derek said the reddening was awful. Let's see here. I'm listening to Needful Things narrated by King, and it's pretty. I would highly recommend that one because King is such a quirky character as it is that hearing him read it, it's like a dream come true. That audiobook is a lot of fun because I don't know if you guys do, but I hear Stephen King's voice in my head a lot of the time when I'm reading his books, whether he's a character in the book or not, because it does happen. He sometimes writes himself in, but I always hear Stephen King telling me the story. So it was like a dream come true to actually have him read me a story. It was awesome. Now let's see here. I love Will Patton. I've read I knew, Derek, I was going to end up telling you stuff that you already knew. I'm trying to think of stuff. I've been coming across a lot of new audiobooks on Scribe, things that I normally would never read. But since they're free and they're there, yeah. I'm starting My Heart is a Chainsaw on Monday. I'm looking forward to that one. So it sounds really, really good, and I loved his last one. Let's see here. The Brian Keene novels read by Chet Williamson are amazing. So Bali has another one there for you. Brian Keene books by Chet Williamson. I've heard of Chet, and of course, yeah, I know who Keene is. But I guess I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. I don't like these to go on too long, just because I don't want to hold my guest hostage, that kind of thing. But also, I got my own family time to get in here at the end of the night. I'm going to try my best. I'm taking weekends off now, so I won't be back this Sunday, but I will be back on Tuesday with Rhonda. I will put all of her details up. I'm completely spacing on her last name, but this coming Tuesday, I will have Rhonda with me, and we'll be talking about her books. I'm excited for that one. John, thank you so much for coming on tonight. I'm sorry for the stupid delays. We've been trying to do this since Sunday, everybody. The weather's been terrible, power's been out, all that stuff. But thank you so much for joining me. Is there anything you want to go out on?
Thank you for having me. Thank you all for listening and showing any kind of interest at all, because I know most of you probably don't know who I am. I know Marcy and probably this from Nightworms and Bookstagram and stuff. So that's probably the only person who knows me. So thank you all for showing any interest at all. And if you guys want to check out my work, there's 3 pieces out, and I'd be glad to hear from you. Love it or hate it. Just to thank you for giving me a chance to listen to me and to read my stuff. And thank you for having me.
You're welcome. It's been a pleasure. What's your hey, Cammy? I ain't seen you in forever. Cammy, email me.
Hi, Cammy.
Let's see here. What was I going to say? I was going to say something. Yeah, Marcy's great. Love Marcy. There was something else I was going to say. Dang it. Oh yeah, your Twitter handle. Go ahead and tell people your Twitter handle.
Oh yeah. So my Twitter handle is John Lynch Books. That's the main one. I do have an Instagram, but it's just a Bookstagram. So it's none of my own stuff. So at John Lynch Books is my Twitter handle, and then my website is johnlynchbooks.com.
I don't know if that's going to show up. Sometimes it doesn't show up websites. Are both of those right? Did I get them right?
Yep, those are correct.
Okay. All right. Well, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. It was fun. Thank you again to Derek and to Connor for the donations. Thank you to everyone who asked your questions. Cammie, please email me. I want to talk to you. Anyways, let's see here. Next show is going to be on Tuesday. I will post up author picture and all that stuff. Let's see here. I have an entire lineup of people. This was a very, very popular idea. I think it's like 35 people in a queue, and I've already had 2 people cancel. So we might be going through this. But if you have anybody that you would like me to talk to after I get done with those people, because the bigger name people are going to take a while to answer, if they answer at all. So if you want to hit me up on Twitter or send me an email, it's either at Edward Lorn, Lorn, or Edward Lorn, Lorn, @gmail.com, and let me know, or comment on this video after it is live on the channel, because right now it's live, but it takes a little while to actually upload. So if you want to comment once it's uploaded, please do that. But until next time, I have been E, you have been you, that's been John, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.
Bye.